The road has been quiet for some time now. Not empty, only still. The kind of stillness that settles over the land after the last light of evening has faded beyond the hills. If you enjoy calm stories from Middle-earth, you can stay a while. And if you'd like more like this, you can follow the channel. Now, the story begins. Your steps slow as the trees begin to open. At first, only slightly, then enough to reveal the soft glow of firelight ahead. Warm against the darkness, steady, unmoving. You stop for a moment, not from caution, only to listen. The wind moves gently through the branches above, carrying the scent of wood smoke through the cool night air. Somewhere beyond the clearing, leaves shift softly against one another. The world is quiet here, not silent, never silent, but calm in a way that asks nothing of you. The firelight flickers again, and beside it, a figure sits waiting. Tall hat, gray robes, a staff resting quietly beside him. The glow of the fire dances softly across weathered hands and a face lined not by age alone, but by long roads and countless evenings much like this one. Gandalf looks up as you approach, not surprised, as though he had known, somehow, that you would arrive before the night had fully settled. "Well," he says, softly, the faintest smile beneath his beard. "You took your time. There is warmth in the words. Not mockery, not impatience. Only the quiet tone of someone who has spent many years greeting travelers beside lonely fires." You step closer. The grass beneath your boots is soft with the coolness of night. The fire crackles gently as you lower yourself beside it. Its warmth reaches you immediately. Not strong, only enough to soften the chill carried more still and gray. For a while it is so dark, weeping through, that is well known, a sighs of laughter in death. Its low shifting and soft crackling become part of the night itself. Above, the stars have begun to appear between the branches overhead, faint at first, then clearer with every passing moment. Gandalf watches the flames quietly. His eyes reflect the firelight, though his thoughts seem far beyond the clearing, perhaps upon distant roads, old kingdoms, forgotten hills beneath forgotten moons, or perhaps nowhere at all. At length, he reaches for a small kettle resting near the edge of the fire. The metal gives a soft sound as he adjusts it carefully over the warmth. "Cold night," he murmurs, "but good for stories." The wind stirs again, gentle, passing through the clearing before disappearing into the dark woods beyond. You settle more comfortably near the fire. The ground beneath you is firm but welcoming in its own quiet way. The warmth of the flames, the scent of smoke and pine, the endless sky slowly opening above the trees, all of it begins to soften the feeling of distance carried by the long road behind you. Gandalf glances upward briefly toward the stars. "There are nights," he says quietly, "when the world feels very old indeed." His voice is low, steady. The kind of voice meant not to command attention, but to rest easily beside the firelight. "The stars remember much," he continues after a moment, "far more than we do." The kettle begins to steam softly. The fire shifts, and somewhere beyond the trees, an owl hauls once into the deepening night. Then silence returns, not empty, only peaceful. And as the fire burns steadily between you, the road behind begins to feel very far away. The fire burns steadily between you, not loudly, not brightly enough to chase away the night, only enough to hold back the chill and cast soft light across the clearing. The kettle hums quietly above the flames. A thin ribbon of steam rises into the cool air before disappearing into the darkness above. Gandalf reaches forward slowly, adjusting a piece of wood with the end of his staff. The fire answers with a gentle crackle, then settles once more. For a while, neither of you speaks. The silence feels natural here, not awkward, not empty, only peaceful. The kind of silence that belongs beside old campfires beneath open skies. Above the trees, the stars continue to gather, more appearing with every passing moment. Some bright, some faint enough that they seem ready to vanish if looked at too closely. Gandalf watches them quietly. There is something distant in his gaze, not sadness, not distraction. Only the look of someone who has spent many long years beneath the same sky. At times, he says softly, "I think the stars are the oldest storytellers in Middle-earth." The firelight flickers across his face as he speaks. They were here long before kingdoms rose, long before roads were named. A breeze moves gently through the clearing, cool against your skin. It carries the scent of pine, earth, and distant rain somewhere beyond the hills. The trees whisper softly above, their branches swaying with slow, patient movement. Gandalf pours tea carefully into 2 worn cups. The steam curls upward between you, warm, comforting. He hands one to you without hurry. "Careful," he murmurs. "It bites harder than an orc when first poured." There is the faintest trace of amusement in his voice, the kind that never disturbs the calm around it. The warmth of the cup settles into your hands. Simple, steady. The tea smells faintly of herbs and smoke. Nothing complicated, nothing grand. Only something meant for cold nights beside quiet fires. You drink slowly. The warmth spreads gently through you. The road behind feels even further away now, as though the night itself has softened its memory. Gandalf leans back slightly against an old fallen log near the edge of the clearing. The firelight dances softly across the silver threads woven into his robes. For a moment, he says nothing, only listens to the wind, to the trees, to the quiet sounds of the fire settling into the dark. "There are many who fear silence," he says at last. "They rush to fill it." His eyes remain upon the flames. But silence has its own wisdom if one has patience enough to hear it. The stars above seem brighter now, the sky deeper, endless beyond the branches overhead. Somewhere far off, water moves softly over stone. A stream hidden beyond the trees. Its sound barely reaches the clearing, but it remains there, gentle and constant beneath the night. The fire shifts again. A burst of sparks rises briefly upward before fading into the dark. Gandalf watches them disappear. "Funny thing about fires," he says quietly. "They remind us that warmth never lasts forever." He pauses. But perhaps that is what makes evenings like these worth remembering. The wind softens again. The kettle continues its quiet hum beside the flames, and above it all, the stars remain. Silent, ancient, watching over the small circle of firelight deep within the sleeping woods. The fire has settled into a quieter rhythm now. Its warmth remains steady, though the flames no longer rise as high as before. The night deepens around the clearing, not darker, only calmer. The trees beyond the firelight have become little more than shadows against the silver glow of the stars. Gandalf sits quietly for a time, turning the cup slowly between his hands. The steam has grown faint now, the tea cooling gently in the night air. He watches the fire without speaking, as though listening to thoughts carried from very far away. Then, after a long silence, he smiles softly to himself. "You can learn much about a person," he says quietly, "by the roads they choose." The wind stirs again, gentle, passing through the branches overhead like a slow breath moving through the woods. There are those, Gandalf continues, who walk only where paths are clear and well-traveled. The fire crackles softly beside him, and there are others who wander. His eyes lift briefly toward the dark hills beyond the trees, not because they are lost, but because something in them has always belonged to the road. The words settle easily into the quiet, not heavy, not meant as lessons, only thoughts spoken beside an old fire beneath an older sky. You listen as the night continues around you. The distant stream still murmurs somewhere beyond the clearing. An owl calls once again from far within the woods. Then silence returns. Gandalf leans back slightly, his cloak shifting softly against the ground. "I have walked many roads," he says after a moment. "Some beneath mountains so old that even the stars seemed young above them." While the firelight flickers gently across his face. Others through forests where the trees remembered kingdoms long forgotten by men. There is no pride in his voice, no grandness, only memory, softened by time and distance. "The road is a curious thing," he murmurs. "It changes people slowly." His eyes return to the flames, not always in ways they notice. A small gust of wind moves through the clearing, carrying sparks upward into the darkness. You watch them drift briefly among the stars before vanishing completely. Gandalf watches them too, then smiles faintly beneath his beard. "Most journeys are not remembered for the great battles," he says quietly. His voice lowers slightly, becoming softer still. "They are remembered for evenings like this. The fire, the road behind, the stars above, the feeling that for one small moment, the world has become still enough to breathe." The kettle shifts softly beside the flames. Somewhere beyond the trees, the wind moves through tall grass with a sound like distant waves upon a shore. Gandalf closes his eyes briefly, as though listening to something older than the night itself. "There are roads," he says after a time, "that seem to remember those who walk them." You glance toward the dark path beyond the clearing, barely visible now beneath the trees. He notices the old roads are patient, he says gently. They wait. The fire burns lower. The warmth settles deeper into the cool air around you, and the stars above continue their silent watch over the endless lands beyond the woods. Gandalf draws his cloak more comfortably around his shoulders. Then, with the faintest trace of amusement, he adds, "Though I will say, some roads are far better walked after a good cup of tea." A quiet laugh escapes him. Warm, low, gone almost as soon as it appears. The kind of laugh that belongs naturally beside campfires and long journeys beneath the stars. And once again, the night settles peacefully around the two of you. The fire burns lower now, not fading, only softer. Its warmth settles gently through the clearing, rising slowly into the cool night air before disappearing beneath the stars above. Gandalf remains quiet for a time, watching the flames, listening to the wind moving softly through the trees. Night around you feels older somehow now, deeper, as though the world beyond the firelight has drifted further away. At last, Gandalf speaks again. There are places in Middle-earth, he says softly, where silence feels different. His eyes remain upon the fire, not empty. He pauses briefly, only peaceful, in a way that is difficult to explain. The distant stream continues its quiet murmur somewhere beyond the trees, steady, unchanging. Gandalf smiles faintly beneath his beard. Rivendell was always such a place. The name settles gently into the night, like an old memory returning. The sound of water there never truly ceased, he continues quietly. Even in the deepest hours of the night, the fire crackles softly beside him. There were evenings when the entire valley seemed wrapped in silver light. His gaze drifts upward toward the stars above the clearing. The waterfalls would glow beneath the moon, and the songs of the elves carried softly through the trees. There is warmth in his voice now, not excitement, only quiet affection for a place long loved. The world felt very far away there, he says, as though nothing beyond the valley could disturb its peace. The wind stirs gently once more, cool against your skin. The trees whisper overhead. And yet, Gandalf murmurs, I think I always loved the Shire, most of all. A faint smile appears again. There is wisdom in simple places. The firelight dances softly across his face. Small gardens, warm windows beneath the rain, the smell of bread drifting through the evening air. He chuckles quietly to himself. And an alarming tendency among hobbits to feed wandering wizards far too much. The sound fades gently into the night. Never loud, never breaking the calm around it. You can almost picture it as he speaks. Rolling green hills beneath golden evening light, lanterns glowing softly through round windows, the distant sound of laughter carried across quiet fields. Gandalf rests his hands loosely around the warm cup beside him. There are forests too, he says, after a moment, his voice growing softer again. Old forests. The wind shifts gently through the trees around the clearing. Forests where the leaves seem to remember every footstep. His gaze drifts toward the darkness beyond the firelight, places where the world feels ancient. The fire gives a quiet burst of sparks. They rise briefly before vanishing into the night. There is comfort in such places, Gandalf says quietly. But also mystery. He pauses. And I have always believed the world should keep a little mystery. The stars shine brightly overhead now, the sky clear and endless beyond the branches. The night feels vast around the small circle of firelight. And yet, safe, held together by warmth, quiet voices, and the endless calm of the woods. Gandalf leans back slightly once more. The fire reflects softly in his eyes. There are many loud places in the world, he says, at last. Too many. His voice grows quieter still. But the quiet places, he smiles faintly. They are worth remembering. The wind moves gently through the clearing again. The stream continues its soft song beyond the trees. And above it all, the stars remain silent over the sleeping lands of Middle-earth. The firelight reaches only so far now. Beyond its glow, the forest fades gently into darkness. Not threatening, not cold, only distant. The kind of distance that belongs naturally to deep woods beneath the quiet sky. The wind moves again, soft at first, barely enough to stir the grass near the edge of the clearing, then stronger among the trees beyond the firelight. Their branches sway slowly overhead, leaves whispering together in the dark. Gandalf listens without speaking. His eyes remain upon the fire, though it feels as though he hears something far beyond the clearing itself. The wind carries many things, he says softly after a while. Most folk notice only the cold. A small smile touches his face. But there are nights when it carries memories too. The fire crackles gently. Its warmth remains steady beside you. Yet beyond it, the air grows cooler, the darkness deeper, the woods stretching endlessly beneath the stars. You pull your cloak slightly closer around yourself, not from discomfort, only instinct. The wind brushes softly through the clearing again, this time carrying the faint scent of rain somewhere far beyond the hills, perhaps many miles away. Gandalf closes his eyes briefly. There are storms wandering the northern mountains tonight, he murmurs quietly. You can smell them if you know how to listen. The idea settles strangely comfortably into the night. Storms far away, roads unseen beneath the dark, ancient hills resting quietly beneath clouds no one here can see. The world feels larger somehow when Gandalf speaks. Not frighteningly large, only endless in a peaceful way, as though there will always be more roads beyond the next hill, more fires beneath distant stars. The wind rises slightly stronger for a moment. The trees answer together now, a deep, rolling sound moving through the forest canopy like waves across a dark sea. The fire bends gently with the gust before steadying again. Sparks drift upward briefly, then vanish. Gandalf watches them disappear into the night sky. Long ago, he says quietly, I slept beneath stranger skies than these. The firelight flickers softly across his withered face. There are deserts in the far south where the wind never truly rests. His gaze drifts somewhere beyond the trees, and mountains in the east where it sings through the stone itself. He smiles faintly to himself. I have always preferred forests at night. The wind softens once more, returning to its gentler rhythm among the branches. There is comfort in trees, Gandalf murmurs. They ask very little of us. For a while, only the sounds of the night remain. The shifting leaves, the low crackle of fire, the distant stream beyond the clearing, all blending together into a rhythm so soft it almost disappears into silence itself. The stars overhead seem brighter now, the sky impossibly deep between the dark branches above. The road behind feels forgotten. The world beyond the forest feels far away. Only this clearing remains, this small warmth beneath the endless night. Gandalf adjusts the edge of his cloak near the fire, the movement slow, unhurried. Then he glances toward the darkness beyond the trees. Do you know, he says quietly, why travelers love campfires so much? You wait. The wind stirs softly once more. Because beyond the firelight, Gandalf says with the faintest smile, the world remains wild. The words drift gently into the night. Not fearful, not warning, only true, and somehow comforting because of it. The fire burns steadily between you. The wind continues its quiet wandering through the sleeping woods, and above it all, the stars remain ancient and silent over Middle-earth. The night grows quieter with every passing hour. The wind has softened again. The trees beyond the firelight sway only slightly now, their dark shapes resting beneath the endless sky. The fire burns low and steady between you, warm, comforting. Its glow reflects softly in Gandalf's eyes as he watches the embers shift. For a long while, he says nothing, only listens to the woods, to the distant water beyond the clearing, to the silence that settles deeper around the camp with every passing moment. Then, almost absently, he speaks. I have seen many ages of this world. His voice is calm, not heavy with importance, only thoughtful, as though speaking of old roads long left behind. The fire crackles softly. There are nights, Gandalf continues quietly, when memory feels closer than the present. The words drift slowly into the stillness. The stars above remain bright between the branches overhead, ancient, watching. I remember forests far older than these, he murmurs. Trees so vast that their crowns vanished into mist. His gaze drifts toward the darkness beyond the clearing. And cities filled with white towers beside the sea. The firelight flickers gently across his weathered face. There were songs there once. A faint smile touches his lips, songs carried by the wind across harbors lit with golden lamps. The wind moves softly through the clearing again, cool against your skin. The scent of smoke and pine lingers gently in the air. Gandalf rests both hands loosely around his cup. There are some places, he says after a while, that remain with you long after the road has carried you elsewhere. His voice grows quieter still, not because they were grand. He pauses briefly, but because for a little while they felt like home. The fire settles lower. The glowing embers pulse softly beneath the ash. The world around the clearing feels impossibly distant now, as though only this small fire and Gandalf's quiet voice remain awake beneath the stars. There were friends too, he says softly. The words are simple, without sadness, without weight, only memory. I have sat beside many fires over the years. A gentle breeze stirs the edge of his cloak, with dwarves beneath mountains, with elves beside rivers, and with hobbits who worried far more about supper than the fate of the world. A faint chuckle escapes him, warm and quiet, gone almost as soon as it arrives, the kind of laugh that belongs naturally to old memories and peaceful nights. For a moment, Gandalf simply watches the fire. The silence between words feels easy, unforced, as though the night itself understands there is no need to hurry. There are things in Middle-earth, older than kingdoms, he says, at last, older than names. His eyes lift briefly toward the stars, and yet the world continues. The fire gives a soft crack. A final spark rises upward before disappearing into the dark. The road teaches that, Gandalf murmurs, that nothing truly lasts forever. He pauses. But perhaps that is why small moments matter so much. The warmth of the fire, the quiet of the woods, a calm night beneath the stars, beside someone willing to share an old story. The wind drifts gently through the trees again, soft, restless, endless in its wandering. Gandalf closes his eyes briefly as it passes, then smiles faintly. There is comfort in remembering, he says quietly, especially on nights like these. The stars remain bright overhead. The woods sleep peacefully beyond the clearing. And the fire continues to glow softly between you beneath the ancient sky of Middle-earth. The night has grown deep around the clearing. Not darker, only quieter. The kind of quiet that settles slowly over the world until every sound feels softer than before. The fire burns low beside you now. Its flames no longer rise high into the air. Only small tongues of orange and gold moving gently above glowing embers. The warmth remains close, comforting against the coolness drifting through the woods. Beyond the firelight, the forest has become almost shapeless. Only the outlines of ancient trunks and branches beneath the stars. The wind has faded to little more than a soft breath among the leaves overhead. Even the distant stream seems quieter now, its song gentler. As though the whole world has begun to rest, Gandalf sits peacefully beside the fire, one hand resting lightly upon his staff, the other near the warmth of the glowing embers. His hat casts a shadow across much of his face, though the firelight still catches the silver in his beard whenever the flames shift. For a long while, neither of you speaks. There is no need. The silence feels complete, not empty, only calm. The kind of silence found only far from cities and roads, far from noise and hurried thoughts. Above the clearing, the stars seem impossibly bright now. The sky stretches endlessly between the dark branches overhead, a river of silver light flowing across the heavens. Gandalf glances upward quietly. There is a peace in the deep night, he says softly, that cannot be found during the day. His voice is lower now, almost blending with the sound of the fire itself. The world grows honest when it becomes quiet enough. The embers shift gently, a small glow pulsing beneath ash. You settle more comfortably beside the warmth. The earth beneath you feels steady, safe. The road behind has faded almost entirely from thought now. Only the fire, the stars, and Gandalf's calm presence remain. There were nights long ago, Gandalf murmurs after a while, when travelers feared the darkness far more than they do now. The wind stirs faintly through the trees, but darkness itself was never the enemy. He smiles faintly to himself. Most often, it was simply the unknown. The words drift softly into the stillness, not frightening, only thoughtful. The fire crackles quietly once more, then settles. Gandalf watches the embers with distant eyes. There are many good things that belong to the night, he says. Quiet roads. He pauses. The sound of rain upon distant hills. A faint smile touches his face again. And the feeling that the world has finally stopped asking things of you for a little while. The stars above seem endless, cold and ancient, and yet the clearing feels warm beneath them, protected by nothing more than a small fire and the peaceful company beside it. The wind moves softly once again, barely enough to stir the edge of Gandalf's cloak. He closes his eyes briefly as it passes, then exhales slowly. As I grow older, he says quietly, I find I appreciate simple evenings more than great halls. The firelight dances softly across his weathered face. A warm fire, a quiet sky, a friend beside the road. He smiles gently. There is wisdom in such things. The embers glow steadily between you. The woods remain still and peaceful beyond the clearing. And above it all, the stars continue their endless, silent watch over the sleeping lands of Middle-earth. The fire is little more than embers now, soft red light beneath a thin layer of ash. The flames rise only occasionally, small and quiet, before fading once more into the glow below. The warmth remains close to the ground, gentle, steady, no longer strong enough to push back the cool night air beyond the clearing. And yet, it feels enough. The woods around you have grown still, not silent, never entirely silent, but resting. The wind moves only airily now, a faint breath through the upper branches, before disappearing again into the deep night. Gandalf sits quietly beside the embers. His pipe rests forgotten beside him, the smoke long since carried away into the darkness above. The firelight flickers softly across his face whenever the embers shift. For a while, he says nothing, only watches the slow fading glow before him. The stars above remain bright, cold, and endless beyond the dark silhouettes of the trees. You feel the weight of the night settling more fully around you now, not heavy, only calming, like a blanket drawn gently over the world. Gandalf exhales slowly, contentedly. There is something comforting about dying fires, he says quietly. His voice is softer than before, almost blending into the stillness itself. They ask nothing more of us. The embers pulse gently beneath the ash, a slow rhythm of warmth and fading light. The clearing feels smaller now, more intimate somehow beneath the vastness of the stars. The road behind has disappeared entirely from thought. There are no journeys now, no distant places, only this quiet moment beside the last warmth of the fire. Gandalf adjusts his cloak slightly around his shoulders. The fabric shifts softly against the earth. When I was younger, he murmurs with the faintest smile, I believed every fire needed to burn brightly. The embers glow softly between you, but old age teaches different lessons. He watches a final small flame rise briefly from the wood before settling once more. There is peace in things that grow quiet. The wind drifts gently through the clearing again, cool against your skin, carrying the scent of earth, pine, and distant rain somewhere beyond the sleeping hills. The trees whisper faintly overhead. Then stillness returns. The fire continues to fade, slowly, without struggle, without urgency. Its warmth becomes softer with every passing moment. Yet somehow, the clearing feels warmer than before, safer, as though the night itself has settled peacefully around the two of you. Gandalf glances upward toward the stars once more. There are many who fear endings, he says softly. But endings are simply part of rest. The words drift gently into the quiet. Simple, certain. The embers shift again. A brief glow of orange beneath silver ash. Then calm once more. Your breathing slows naturally beside the fading warmth. The sounds of the woods feel impossibly distant now, as though the entire world has drifted somewhere far beyond the trees. Only the fire remains, only Gandalf's quiet voice. Only the endless stars above Middle-earth, and little by little, even the fire begins to sleep. The embers glow softly beside you, dim now, quiet. Their warmth rises only faintly into the cool air of the clearing. Above, the stars remain endless beyond the dark branches overhead, ancient lights watching silently over the sleeping lands of Middle-earth. For a long while, Gandalf says nothing. He sits peacefully beside the fading fire, hands folded loosely across his knees, eyes resting upon the last gentle glow beneath the ash. The woods around you feel impossibly still now, not empty, only resting, as though every leaf and stone has settled into the deep calm of the night. Then, at last, Gandalf speaks again, very softly, almost as though the fire itself is telling the story through him. There was once, he says quietly, a small hill far from any great road. The embers pulse faintly, warm red beneath silver ash. Nothing remarkable stood there. His voice drifts slowly into the stillness. No towers, no kings, no songs remembered by history. A faint breeze moves through the clearing, barely enough to stir the grass near the fire. Only a single tree upon the hill. You listen quietly as the stars shine overhead. It stood there for many long years, Gandalf continues, watching the seasons pass. The wind softens again. The night deepens around the clearing. In spring, the hill would turn green with wildflowers. A faint smile touches Gandalf's face. In autumn, the leaves would drift across the grass like golden rain. The embers shift gently, a soft glow rising and fading beneath the ash. There was nothing important about the place, he murmurs, and yet, travelers often rested there. His voice carries the warmth of old memory. Some stayed only a moment, others through the night. The trees whisper softly overhead, and always the tree remained. The words settled gently into the quiet, simple, peaceful. Gandalf watches the last faint glow of the fire. I passed that hill many times, he says after a while, across many years. The stars above seem impossibly distant now, cold and endless beyond the sleeping woods. And whenever I returned, Gandalf murmurs softly, the world felt quieter there. He smiles faintly beneath his beard, as though the hill had no interest in the troubles of the world. The idea feels strangely comforting beside the fading embers. A quiet place, untouched by noise or worry. Only grass, wind, stars overhead. The kind of place one remembers long after leaving it behind. Gandalf closes his eyes briefly. The firelight flickers softly across his weathered face. There are places in this world, he says quietly, that remind us to rest. The wind drifts gently through the clearing once more, cool, soft, endless in its wandering. Not because they are magical, Gandalf continues, but because they ask nothing from us. The embers glow faintly again, then dim. The clearing grows darker with every passing moment, and somehow more peaceful too. The road no longer matters. The distant world no longer feels close. Only this quiet night beneath the stars remains only the soft sound of Gandalf's voice beside the fading warmth of the fire. There is wisdom, he murmurs at last, in learning when to stop walking for a while. The words drift slowly into the stillness, then fade. The wind settles. The trees grow quiet once more, and the last story of the night comes gently to rest beside the sleeping fire. Only a faint glow remains beneath the ash, soft, barely visible. Its warmth no longer reaches far beyond the place where it rests, and yet the clearing still feels warm. The night has settled fully around you, deep, still, complete. The trees stand silent beneath the stars, their dark branches unmoving against the endless sky above. The wind has faded. Only the occasional breath of cool air drifts softly through the clearing before vanishing once more into the sleeping woods. Gandalf remains beside the dying embers, quiet, peaceful. His eyes rest upon the fading glow, as though watching something familiar slowly drifting into rest. For a long while, neither of you speaks. There is no need for words anymore. The night itself feels enough. The stars above seem impossibly distant now, ancient lights scattered across an endless darkness, watching silently over rivers, forests, mountains, and the countless quiet places hidden between them. The world feels very far away, not gone, only softened by the deep calm of the night. Gandalf exhales slowly, the sound barely louder than the wind itself. At times, he says quietly, "I think the world sleeps more peacefully than people do." A faint smile touches his face. The stars certainly seem to. The last embers shift gently beneath the ash, a soft pulse of orange light, then stillness again. You feel the cool night air resting softly around you now. Not cold, only calm. The earth beneath you remains steady and unmoving, the same as it has been since the evening began, holding the quiet little clearing beneath the stars. Gandalf leans back slightly against the fallen log behind him. His staff rests quietly beside him. The firelight no longer reaches his face fully now, only faint traces of warmth along the edges of his cloak and beard. The old elves believed, he murmurs softly, that the stars were reminders. His voice is slow, gentle, almost dreamlike within the stillness. Not reminders of war or kings or great deeds. The woods remain silent around you, but reminders that even in darkness, there is light somewhere beyond sight. The words drift slowly into the quiet night. Simple, certain. The embers fade further, their glow dimming little by little beneath the cooling ash. Above, the stars continue their endless silent watch over Middle-earth. The road behind has vanished entirely now. There are no journeys left tonight, no distant lands waiting beyond the hills. Only rest, only the quiet comfort of the night. Gandalf closes his eyes briefly, listening perhaps to the trees or the wind, or simply the peaceful silence settling over the clearing. Then, very softly, he speaks once more. "Sleep well, my friend." The words are warm, gentle, carried no further than the dying fire between you. The embers give one final faint glow, then settle quietly into darkness. And beneath the endless stars of Middle-earth, the night finally becomes still. If you wish to return to quiet fires beneath the stars, there are more stories waiting for you. You can remain here a little longer or let another journey begin. And if these peaceful nights help you rest, you can follow the channel. Good night.